Hey guys, Ryan here. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the top 5 sniper supports in the game right now, in my opinion. If I sound a little different than usual, it's because I'm trying out a new mic. This is more for streaming, but I may use it for videos as well, but we're going to see about that. But let's get into it. So to start off, the top 3 guns that I think are the best in no particular order are going to be the Tech 9, the Bullfrog, and the Mac 10. In the 4th spot is going to be the CX9 and MP7. And in last place, we're going to have the XM4. Now, if when you first see that list, you're wondering why it's primarily SMGs and there aren't very many ARs, it's because Raven went and changed the close range time to kill of almost every assault rifle. I would just really recommend sticking with SMGs, but the XM4 and Colder AK are more than viable, and I'm going to break down why in a little bit. So the best 3 SMGs are kind of interchangeable, and you can choose which one you prefer. But I'd really recommend using the Bullfrog, Mac 10, or Tech 9. I'm going to be talking about the Bullfrog first, so let's get into it. The Bullfrog is kind of the middle ground among the top 3 SMGs. It has, in my opinion, the least amount of kick, the best handling feel, and just overall the easiest to use among the group I just listed. It has great mid-range damage, it has good damage up close, and if you can fit in 1 or 2 headshots up close, you will melt almost any gun up close. Now that goes for almost every gun, but especially for guns like the Bullfrog does it make it absolutely insane. But not only that, it has insane movement speed that I really like, but it has some of the biggest magazines in the entire game. I like to run the 65 one because it gives me the best ADS time and mag size combo, but it is so good. That 65 round mag allows you to go through an entire team of trios and quads and still have bullets left. Now, I'm not saying the Bullfrog is the best, but I would put it as the most consistent of almost all the guns on this list. It just feels good to use it almost all times. It has good damage across almost every range you want to use an SMG. And there's just something about the way the gun feels that feels really good. And I'm someone who really believes in feel over stats. While I do think raw time to kill and everything like that is super important, the best time to kill in the whole game period is the sniper shot to the head. And realistically, how many people can hit a sniper shot within 0 and 15 meters consistently? Not very many. So while that time to kill thing is huge, it's also more important to factor in the feel and the overall usage that a gun has. And that's what the Bullfrog excels in. It's the same thing for the other guns, but really with the Bullfrog, you feel it. The fire rate is solid, the damage is solid, the movement is solid. Everything about it is solid. It may not stand out in insane ways, but that's what makes it so good. If you guys are enjoying this video, please think about liking and subscribing. You don't have to though, and I just want to say thank you guys for watching. So now let's talk about the Mac 10. I love this gun. I think it's super good, but it does come with some flaws and it has a little downsides, but there's a reason why it's in the top tier, why I have it tied with the Bullfrog and the Tech 9, and it's because it's that good. The damage is there, the magazine is there, and the movement and mobility on this gun is absolutely insane. I can't really stress enough though, I really believe that mobility is the strength of the Mac 10. While its damage is really good up close, it's really good in the mid-range, and it's a great sniper support SMG, it just doesn't have the necessary damage up close like some other SMGs. But because of the mobility, you can cause people to miss a couple shots with your movement, and you can outplay them using good movement. The Mac 10 also has one interesting feature, which is the open bolt delay. So when you squeeze the trigger on the Mac 10, it takes 50 milliseconds for the first bullet to actually start shooting, and this is unlike most guns. Now, knowing this, if you know someone is pushing you and you are in a close range gunfight, try and pre-fire. This means that if you can even get your bullets off just a tiny of a millisecond quicker, you are going to find yourself winning so many more gunfights because you're going to negate that 50-second open bolt delay and you're going to shred kids. So all in all, if you've been a big fan of the Mac 10 in the past, then I'd recommend to stay with it. It's still really good. It's more than viable, and it's honestly one of the best guns in the entire game right now, never mind just as a sniper support slash SMG. But now I want to get into the Tech 9. So this gun's really interesting. It just came out, so a lot of people haven't had a chance to use it. It has a really really high time to kill for an SMG. It has really good damage. It just has a couple drawbacks that I would maybe more suggest using this in solos, duos, or maybe trios. I do think it's viable in quads, but it really shines in solos and duos, and it's really good in trios as well. The reason why this is because it has pretty decent recoil, which makes it a little hard to control, but the high rate of fire and the somewhat small magazine can get you in trouble in quads. Now, it's not really that much of an issue in solos duos, but I will say this, guys. The recoil on this is not as easy to control as the Bullfrog or Mac 10. And that can cause you to miss shots as well, which is never good when you're dealing with an already small magazine. What is good, though, about that high rate of fire is it means if you miss 1 or 2 shots due to the recoil, for example, it's not going to completely end your chance of winning the gunfight like it will with some other guns. Now, one more interesting thing about this gun is it does not have a suppressor. And in the forms before you can use it full auto, you have to use it in single fire and burst, and it is somewhat of a miserable experience leveling this gun up. Full auto, it is insane, it destroys, but leveling it up through the single fire, through the burst, whatever, is really annoying, but the payoff is worth it if you do finally unlock that full auto. This one has a little bit higher of a skill cap and skill curve than the Bullfrog and Mac 10, but it is really worth it. And if you can hit the shots, if you can use this thing, this gun is going to be worth it, I promise. But now let's move on to the CX9 and the MP7. Now, these are the only 2 SMGs from the Modern Warfare that make the list, and unfortunately, due to the way Raven has kind of changed Cold War SMGs and whatnot, Modern Warfare SMGs are not packing the oomph they were before. However, let me make it clear, I think the CX9 and MP7 are more than good enough, and I really think if you want to use these guns, go for it. They're plenty good enough. The only real drawback to both of them is going to be their mobility. Now, this is the only real issue with Modern Warfare weapons, but the CX9 does not feel as fast as the Cold War SMGs. But what I will say it does have is it feels amazing in the mid-range. There's something about the way this gun kicks. It's very minimal. It makes it easy to hit upper chest shots, to hit those headshots, and it feels amazing in the mid-range. I'm not kidding, guys. Between 15 and 25 meters, I don't think there's another SMG I'd want in my hands other than this thing. It melts kids, and it does its job up close more than well enough. It's not necessarily the best SMG in the game, but I really love it, and I really recommend using it. Now, the same thing goes for the MP7, but the main benefit of the MP7 is going to be if you build it like a hipfire build, you can really style on kids with really good movement and abusing the way hipfire kind of works in this game in general. So all in all, I just want to say I do believe both the CX9 and MP7 are more than viable, and if these are the guns you want to use, do it. They're great in the mid-range, they're good up close, and they just kind of have that really good feel that I've been going on and on about in this video. But now let's move on to the final section, and that's going to be the XM4 and the Cold War AK as the last roundup in the ARs. Now guys, hear me out here. ARs as sniper supports are not dead. They're far from it. But Raven has intentionally changed the time to kill of assault rifles to not be lower than 600 milliseconds up close. Almost every single SMG listed in this video has a better time to kill up close, and they have better sprint to fire time, better ADS time, and they're just going to feel a little better up close. Now, where ARs do dominate is their ability to be really good in the mid-range and the long range. And there's something else though. The headshot multiplier on something like the Cold War AK and the XM4 is really big, and it will allow you to turn fights and use it as a close range gun. The issue is it requires you to hit some headshots to really earnestly compete with a lot of SMGs, because there is one more factor that needs to be considered, and that's the mobility. ARs just don't have as good as mobility as SMGs, and someone with good movement is going to make you miss a couple shots. And if your gun already kills slower up close in terms of raw stats, and then let's say they have good movement and that movement bonus because they're using SMG, it's going to be really difficult to win that gunfight unless you have the outright advantage and they're walking into your sights. They're still viable. You just got to hit those headshots, and this gun's going to be more than good enough. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's been Ryan. You don't have to like, you don't have to subscribe, but if you do, it really helps out the channel, and I just want to say thank you guys, and I hope you have a good day. Peace.